Good morning, good afternoon, happy new year. 2024 is a little bit insane to me. I still feel like it was just yesterday that 1999 was here and everyone was concerned that the world was going to end and Y2K and everything else. And that was 25 years ago. I was just talking to, sorry, I have a little bit of a tickle right now. I was just talking to Selby last night about that. She's like, I can't believe it's 2024, which is funny for a 10-year-old girl to say, because I'm like, you have no idea. And I guess older people have the same sentiment about me saying that 1999 was 25 years ago and that's nothing. But it's crazy that it's 2024. It is also crazy that as of today, I am 38. I don't know when that happened or how that happened. But today, January 2nd, is my 38th birthday. So I'm spending it here with you guys. I hope that you understand how important that is. 2024, 38, Christmas break is over, start to a new year. I feel like everyone hits the new year and they're like, new year, new me, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. Maybe this blog post has a slight nod to that, but that's not really the intent of it. Just more of a reflection, talking a little bit about my break and my experience and how I handled the time off mentally and physically, and maybe a little bit of what 2024 has in store, but not too much. I don't like to try and implement too many massive changes. I'd rather adopt something in my life that's sustainable rather than, trying something out because it's new year, new me. I'd rather make a change because it's the right change, not because the calendar year turned over. So 2024, 38 years old. That's always a tough one for me. The new year and then turning a year older is always a tough one for me. This year, not too much different. Time off was okay. I think I did well with it initially, and then I ended up struggling a little bit later in the break. But we will get into that. Let's see what else is on my docket, my agenda. I hope that everyone had a good break, took some time off, enjoyed your family. I am going to be getting back to emails. I know I have some consulting calls lined up for the next couple of weeks, and then I have some outstanding emails for consulting calls that I will be getting to here shortly. I really tried not to work over break and not to get to emails and all of that stuff. So I have a little bit of catching up to do over the next couple of weeks, so I will be doing that. As always, if you want to book a consulting call, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. And I'll explain what that process looks like, what we can get into, how much that costs, all of that. So tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. I think that my cat was sitting in my chair because I just sat down here and all of a sudden I'm completely congested and itchy and my eyes are watering and cannot breathe. So that's what happens. I was off. I didn't shut down the podcast studio. Normally I keep something on my chair so the cat doesn't crawl in here and sleep on my chair. He's mostly outside, but he will sleep in here at night sometimes. Actually, I lied. He doesn't stay in here at night. He goes out at night. He's nocturnal. And then he'll come in the morning and he'll eat and then take a nap in my chair. And that's why I can't breathe. So first off, I want to thank sponsors. Andersen Windows and Doors. It's Andersen Windows.com. A nice thing that I like with them, and I've used this multiple times even on this past project, is you go onto their website, you can click on the 4 Pros section, and they have these sizing resources, right? So if you have a rough opening or you have a window unit that you're looking to match or replace, or you have a rough opening and you're looking to figure out what options you have as far as windows. In this For Pros section, they have this Find My Size tab. And you can go in there and you can put if it's a window or door, and then put the sizes that you have, and it will bring up all the options that you have in windows and doors and whatever lines of windows and options, awning, casements, double hung, whatever they are. It'll give you all your options you have for those sizes. So it makes it super convenient to then go to your rep, your salesman, your vendor, and say, hey, I need this window. Just really takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Again, that's AndersenWindows.com, ANDERSEN Windows.com. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everything that you guys did for us in 2023, and looking forward to strengthening our partnership in 2024. I also have to give a special thank to Kuiken Brothers. Thank you to Kuiken Brothers. That's KUIKEN Brothers.com. If you've followed my journey over the past 10 years, if you've been living anywhere other than under a rock, you know that I love Kuiken Brothers. I love their lumberyard. I love their service. I love Ryan over there, who really is my connection to Kuiken Brothers from day one. But most importantly, I love their moldings. If you haven't checked them out, do so. Hop on their website, click on products. On the drop down at that point, you can go to molding, and that's the page that you want to check out. My favorite thing is their molding design guide. So if you click on that, you can go in and it will show you all of these classically inspired rooms, layered buildups, combinations, Colford ceilings. You can look up entire room packages, and they will have renderings and line drawings and CAD drawings of how to assemble these moldings in traditional rooms to make them look right, what moldings work with each other. The quality of the moldings aside, these tools and these renderings are a really good way to be able to sell these to customers. You can bring in or send them links to these molding packages, and they can pick and choose, and then you can get samples at that point. So definitely check them out. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone over at Kuiken Brothers, for everything that you have done in 2023. And same thing. I hope to keep things moving in 2024. I appreciate everything you do for me, for the main podcast, and my personal brand, my business brand, everything. I appreciate everything you do. Back to the regularly scheduled program here. Let me pull up my notes. I could wing this, but typically it's a little bit better with notes. It'll give me a little bit of direction. Oh, the other thing, go to the website, moderncraftsman.co, and you can read the blog posts, the accompanying blog posts that go with these podcasts. I type up, I think if I had 47 podcasts last year, there was one that didn't have a accompanying blog post. I forget the exact reason why. I don't think it really made sense to do, but check them out. A little bit different flavor with them, a little bit different insight. What I do is when I'm prepping for these podcasts is I sit down, I collect my thoughts, get my notes written, and then I will type up my blog post, and then I review that. Once that's fresh in my head, I'll sit down and I will record this audio version of my blog post, which is a podcast. And that's where I am reflecting on my blog post, but it's not word for word. It's mostly what's fresh in my head. So it's a different perspective. So I would love if you guys would hop on the website, check out the blog post as well as the podcast. I know it's super easy to put on your headphones and listen to, or your radio in your car and listen to a podcast. But if you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they're usually very quick. Hop on the website, check out the blog post, spread the word, share the link. I appreciate that. So This blog is blog 38, turning it off over the holidays. Obviously, it's 2024. We're right to it. I woke up this morning. The kids had school today. Again, I turned 38. Emails are coming in, phone calls are coming in, and we're right back to it. It was like, yeah, you had a nice break. Let's get back to it. But what I want to know is if you guys and girls had a nice break and if you were able to shut it off during break. For me, that's typically a struggle of mine. Right. I head into break. The year has been chaotic and you're trying to wrap things up so that you can take a week and a half off and you're go, go, go. It's so intense. And then it's like, hey, you have nothing to do. And you don't have anything to do until after the new year. And then you have all of these highs of the holidays and family, and it's stressful. Even though it's not work, it's stressful. There's a lot going on. Everyone is a little bit tense. I think the perception is that it's just this wonderful time of year and downtime, but the holidays are chaotic and hectic, and a lot of times you're getting together with family, which can be stressful. There's odd dynamics there. So you have the highs of these holiday seasons, and then all of a sudden it's all over. So it's always been tough for me. It's just this mental challenge of wrapping up work and then having all of this excitement, and then it's just quiet, and then you're back to work. Another year older. It's always just been a struggle for me. So going into this year, I've struggled every year, and I wanted this year to be different. So it was chaotic leading up into the holiday break. Obviously, I worked that job, wrapped that job up. A couple of loose ends that we need to tie up that we're waiting on some things to come in, but for the most part, wrapped that up, got the customers in, and then we had break. So we had Christmas Eve at our place. We had Christmas Day at my dad's house, my dad and my stepmom's house. And the girls had a great Christmas. It's always exciting for them, getting older, that are getting exciting gifts that we can share with them as well. So that's always fun. Seeing family's fun. After Christmas Day, I believe it was the 26th, we got up and we went to Rachel's parents have a lake house up in the Catskill area of New York. So it's about 3.5 hours away. And there's not too much to do up there. Usually this doesn't lend itself well to somebody who likes some mental distractions, likes being busy. But I wanted to be good this break and just be able to unwind and relax. So we got up there, and initially I was a bit apprehensive because I looked at the weather report and it was essentially 5 days of rain. So I'm like, we're going to go up there. We're going to be stuck in the house. It's just not a pretty time of year when it rains. There's no color. Snow is different, when it's snowing. Until the plows hit everything, it's usually very pretty. It's serene. It's quiet. I think that the snow really insulates sound and light, where there's a stillness to it. And obviously the world sometimes stops moving as much. So I think that snow is a bit different, but when it rains this time of year, it's horrible. It's just ugly. It's cold. It's damp, bitter. Not my favorite weather, especially this time of year. So I look at the weather reports, like 5 days of straight rain. What are we going to do? But that's what we do. We head up. It was fine. Like, I felt great. We didn't do too much. Some day trips. Rachel and I actually, she got me for my Christmas and birthday a overnight at this place called Ines, I believe. That's how you pronounce it, Innes. And that was in Accord, New York. And it's this, basically they bought 225 or so acres and they put up a very traditional farmhouse rather than a hotel. So it's a big farmhouse. I think there's 12 rooms, and it's somewhat communal living. You have your own room to sleep in, but then there's a kitchen and a lounge and a pool room and a screened in porch and a living room, so everyone floats around and just hangs out together. Not my speed. That is not me. I'm not just going to like float around and communicate and you know, rub elbows with people. If I go away, I typically want to be by myself and just have some downtime. But it was cool. Really cool property. They put a bunch of cabins on it too. Really great restaurants. Everything, like, you don't leave their grounds, but it's not like you're staying in a hotel. There's really nothing around. It's in the mountains. Super beautiful property. Really great restaurant. Really cool buildings. The architecture is great. For a essentially a hotel, like the quality of the work, great. Really, just really cool. They had a great architect, great designers. The way what they did up there was really cool. So that was fun. Um, and then when we came back, we went and stopped and grabbed some coffee in Woodstock, New York. I hadn't been there. Interesting town. I think it could it's a little tired. And it's definitely a tourist attraction. So old buildings that I think could probably, if they were owned by, if the people who owned them resided in them or didn't rent them out, they probably would have nicer renovations. But it's a tourist town, so people are buying them as investment properties, and the architecture just had an opportunity to be super cool, but they were rentals. So a lot of quick fixes and a lot of exterior facades that were covering the original architecture. But interesting town. We just stopped in, grabbed coffee, walked around. We hadn't been there. Again, rainy weather, not the most beautiful time of year, but I love driving around in that area. Her parents live in Athens, and then that's like 30 miles south of Albany. And then I believe we went southwest to Woodstock and Accord. It's just really pretty. There's super old houses, there's farmhouses. A lot of the architecture, like driving in and out of these towns, is so cool. A lot of it's pretty polarizing, where you'll have just a really nice house, like somebody purchased and renovated and restored as a vacation house, and then a lot of the houses near them will be people who have lived there forever, who aren't as don't have the means to do that. So a lot of polarizing architecture, but really cool. I always enjoy driving around up there, especially in the fall with the leaves and everything else. But that was fun. We had a good getaway. Spent some time alone. Our parents watched the girls, ate some good food, drank some good coffee, watched a movie. We watched, I want to say it's called Maestro, but I may be making that up. It's the Bradley Cooper movie about Leonard Bernstein. So that was fun. Intense movie. But it was crazy to watch a movie, just the two of us, and not have distractions. So when we got back, we were going to stay until New Year's Eve, but we were going to our neighbor's house New Year's Eve, and then the girls started school today. So typically there's an extra day in there. The girls starting school, we were like, let's head back a day early. I felt great mentally all break. We had fun. I was fine with the downtime. I wasn't stressed out. I wasn't anxious. And I was like, you know what? I'm fine with going home a little bit early, because typically I don't do well towards the end of break, when I'm slightly anxious about getting back to work, and there's just this downtime between having time off and then starting your new work, and it's this weird like in between limbo, and I start to get anxious. So I was like, this is a great idea. We'll head home an extra day early. We'll have the day before New Year's Eve to start getting things in order, unpack Christmas, organize some things, and then New Year's Eve we'll just be able to take that whole day, do whatever we want, enjoy the time off, and then head to our friends, and then we'll have all New Year, or that was New Year's Eve, then we'll have all New Year's Day to just get ready for getting the kids back to school, starting life again. So I was like, this is perfect. And we came home early, and I don't know why. Usually being home helps, but being home, maybe it was just maybe I had put off getting back to life and everything else, but being home, um, it was a tough day and a half, 2 days for me. Um, the first night we were home leading into New Year's Day, I woke up at 3:40 in the morning, and I could not fall back asleep. Um, a lot of times when I'm just not tired from working, I'll wake up and then I'll be like, well, I could start doing some stuff, right? So it's 4, it's 5 in the morning. I'll go downstairs. I have emails to get to. I didn't I didn't want to do that, and I didn't have that much of that stuff to do. So I just like laid in bed for a while and I couldn't sleep. And then I started thinking, and I started thinking about work and jobs, podcast related stuff, sponsorships, partnerships, um, the traveling that I have coming up for work, what we have on the docket, what I have to line up, customers that I need to get to, customers that are waiting for a response for me. But I didn't want to open my computer and start that stuff. So I put it off. I laid in bed for a while. I could not fall asleep. Um, so I ended up just going downstairs and starting my day. I sat on the couch. I started doing a little bit of work stuff. I started prepping podcast stuff, looking at our past year, what that looks like. Obviously, growing and putting more content out is costing us more money. So I'm looking at what we need to bring in to offset that so that this is not costing us more money than it has in prior years. Because truth be told, a lot of times like we're paying for this, but we aren't doing much more than offsetting the costs of producing this podcast. Nick and myself are hoping that everyone's getting paid for their time, minus Nick and myself, and trying to find a way to have a little extra in there so that we can pull something out of this. So it really is, it's an investment of our time. Still trying to figure out how to make all of that work with Nick and I can't, we concede all of our time to this, but it gets to a point where if we want to continue to grow and devote time to it, we cannot concede any more time than we are. We need to hire people to do things, hire people to produce it, put the content together, reach out to partners, schedule trips, go through paperwork, legal, accounting, marketing, slash doing all of the graphics, the website, obviously Doug putting all of this together and looking at numbers and what that actually costs us in a year and what we need to bring in, and trying to balance that with not just having to pitch sponsors all the time and have you guys listen to ad reads, and still not 100% understanding how to do that with the team that we have put together, because it would be a lot easier if this was our main job, but it's not our main job. So we cannot we need to hire people and put them in place to be able to handle a lot of this. So still trying to figure that out. Got me worked up. Life got me worked up, and I felt like shit going into New Year's Eve, staying up late New Year's Eve, coming home, on 3.5 hours of sleep the night before, and being just extremely exhausted at 1:30 in the morning on New Year's Eve, everyone asleep, and I get in bed and I'm like, I don't feel too good. Kind of feel sick. My stomach doesn't feel good. And I recall that this is typically how, when I have these anxiety attacks, panic attacks, essentially allergic reactions to something, and my body starts going into like an anaphylaxis. And I haven't had this in 2 years, and it always starts the same way. I feel nauseous. So it's like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, man, I feel nauseous. I have to go to the bathroom. So I get up and I go to the bathroom, and then I start wheezing, and I'm like, nope, this is exactly what happens. So I know at this point this is the third time that this has happened, and every other time I attributed it to working too much and not having enough sleep and being stressed out. I figured out that this is what causes this. So the first two times were, usually it gets worse. The first two times were considerably worse, but I also didn't know how to treat this properly. First time didn't have an EpiPen. Second time used two EpiPens, didn't go to the hospital, and then went back to sleep and woke up pretty much incoherent, in full anaphylactic shock on the bathroom floor right around this time of year 2 years ago, and had to get carted out on a stretcher and to the emergency room. So I know the symptoms at this point, and I just, my body was not as run down physically. I had time off. I was rested physically, but I hadn't had any sleep the night before. And my stress and anxiety was really kicking in. So I think that that's what caused that. And again, what ends up happening is I have a minor allergy. It has to be food related to something. And my body just doesn't have the adrenaline to fight that allergy. So essentially, if you look it up, you're going into anaphylaxis or anaphylactic shock. um, it's stress related, it's stress induced, and my body's run down. And essentially, your body thinks there's a small allergy that normally you have enough adrenaline within your body to fight it, and it's a non-issue. But when you deplete all of that adrenaline, or when you're worn down physically or mentally, your body doesn't produce enough adrenaline to be able to fight this, and this is what happens. So as soon as I felt this, the um, usually I really have trouble breathing, so I could hear myself wheezing. So I ran downstairs and I chewed three Benadryl, and I went out to my truck and I grabbed my EpiPen and I brought that upstairs, and I told Rachel what was going on. And I was like, before we go to the hospital, let's just see if this Benadryl, because when I go to the hospital, that's what they give me. They give me more epinephrine, which is your EpiPen, and then they put me on essentially an IV, and then they give me a ton of Benadryl. So I got as much Benadryl into me that I felt safe doing, and then I had my EpiPen. If I had to use it, I'd take the EpiPen and then head to the hospital just to get stabilized. But it didn't seem as bad as the past couple times that it happened. So I was like, let me try and ride this out. The girls were already asleep. It was New Year's Eve. It's 1:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Um, so I end up laying there for like an hour and just trying to relax, trying to breathe nice and slowly, not cough, not get my body worked up. Because I think the other times when it happened, I panicked and it just made it considerably worse. So at this point, I was just like, hey, I have everything in place that if I need to get to the hospital, I can. I took the Benadryl and I had my EpiPen there. So I'm like, everyone's asleep. I'm just going to try and relax and wait this out. And after about an hour, my body started to calm down. The Benadryl started to work. Hour and a half, I fell asleep. And then I slept pretty late the next day. But generally, after this happens, I feel as though I was hit by a truck. I don't drink. I haven't drank since I was 23, so 15 years ago. I stopped drinking, but I will feel for a couple of days after this as if I'm hungover. Um, just feel shitty. My stomach doesn't feel good. My head is just groggy. You have like that headache kind of behind your nose, sinusy. So I felt that way the past couple of days. So what? It's crazy because the other time that this happened was 2 days before Christmas. And then the other time this happened was a summer during COVID, where I just worked myself into this, wrapping a job up. So I understand why it's happening. I'm aware of it. I was able to get it under control, but I still feel like shit. So I'm recovering and recuperating from that. But I thought I had this break licked. I really did. I was like, I felt great. I was good with the downtime. I wasn't coming home to starting a brand new big job right away. So I didn't have too much on my plate and too much anxiety pent up because of that. But when we got home, I didn't have it under control, and something happened. But I'm aware of it. I understand. And obviously I need to continue to make changes. Um, and just ensure that I'm not creating too much anxiety in my life. Um, and I'd done a good job of this in the beginning half of this year, but then this job, the past 6 months, um, really took me out of my game. I had done a good job of really managing life and managing work and separating the two, and I was okay with not being perfect, and I was okay with not being 100% on schedule. And if customers were not happy that I wasn't there, I was okay with that. I was like, I'm doing my best. This is all I can do. And I got to a point where I was okay with that. And then this job happened and everything was wrong. And it was just an absolute shit show. And all I was doing was trying to keep my head above water for 6 months. So all of these practices that I had implemented the prior 6 months and year that I've been working towards, where it's like, I don't know, I feel like that's typical, right? Even if I could relate it to riding my dirt bike, where you practice technique and you practice skills and you try and develop stamina, and all of that flies out the window when you get into a panic or when you're trying to ride faster than you want to, or you get in a race scenario because you haven't developed the habits enough. So it's like, oh yeah, I practice all these good things when I'm riding at like a moderate pace. I can do that. I can keep my elbows up. I can lean forward. I can weight my bike correctly. Um, I can not use too much clutch. And then when you get into a race pace, or when there's somebody that you're chasing, or you just get this like rush of adrenaline, all that shit goes out the window, and you go back to what you're comfortable with and what works for you, and all of those things that you've been trying to develop into habits that aren't quite habits yet. When you get into panic mode, they go out the window. And that's why you need to develop stronger habits, so that you don't think about them, so that when you get into panic mode, it's just what you do, it's how you react. So obviously I haven't established those things enough in my life, that when this job hit and when I went into panic mode, everything went out the window. um I handled the business end of things great. I made money. All my invoicing, like I said, my job was within a few $1,000s, all said and done, of what I estimated this to do. I managed this job really well. I executed really well. But mentally, all of these habits and rules and standards and processes that I had worked on for 6 months, they aren't the norm yet. They aren't true habits. So the knee jerk reaction was just to go back to the fight or flight, and I was fighting. I was working too many hours. I was just trying to get them in by Christmas. I was trying to fulfill my promises, instead of being like, hey, we're going to do what we can do and we'll get it done when we can get it done. And that's the best I can do. And I'm not going to sweat it. I sweat it. I sweated it. Um, and there's aspects that I handled really well, and the job went well from a business side of things, but from a mental health perspective, I didn't I didn't handle it as well as I could have. I was stressed. I was angry with a lot of things. So again, I don't have the groundwork completely done, and I went back to what worked for me, and basically what I do in a panic. So I think for 2024, my goal is to get back to where I started 2023. And again, I did a great job of just saying, hey, I'm one guy. I have a helper. Um, I use some subs. I don't do a ton of work. This is my process. This is what I do. I can't give you an exact date for this. I'm doing my best. If that's not good, I'm sorry, but that's just who I am. That's what I can do, and I can't offer you more. I need to get back to that. I need to get back to sticking to my guns with certain things, and just mentally protecting myself. I really focused a lot the last 6 months on ensuring that the business was in line and didn't put as much emphasis on the mental aspects of things. I rode less. I focused less on what I enjoyed, and most of my focus was on work, getting the work done, and making sure that my customers and my subs and everyone else was happy and content. And for 2024, I want to focus on ensuring that I'm content. Because at the end of the day, if I'm content, my work life is better, my social life is better, my marriage is better, I'm a better father, all of those things. Um, so that's what I'm going to focus on starting this year out. There's a lot on my plate. There's a lot that I have going on. But I really want to focus on ensuring that there's a balance there. And I lost that balance towards the end of last year, and it was just survival at that point. And I don't want to do that again. A lot of things were out of my control on that project, and I tried to control them, which is just my personality. And it led to how I felt and how I quite honestly feel right now. So that's my change for 2024. I know I said I was going to be like new year, new me, but just reflecting the past few days, and reflecting on the year and everything else, like financially, it was a great year for the business. It was a great year for me, but the shit that bothered me before is still bothering me. I still, I got sick, and so obviously something needs to budge. Like, yeah, so financially it was good, but like if I still feel like shit right now and I'm still almost ending up hospitalized, something has to give, something has to change. So for 2024, that's my goal. To not get myself in a position that I was the past 6 months. And if I am in that position, to understand that, like, hey, I can control certain aspects of this. This is not what I intended. I'm going to do my best, but I am not going to let this absolutely consume every waking hour of my life. And I'm going to be less about survival and more about self-preservation. So that's it for me. Again, I'm not feeling too hot right now. Next week, I'm starting back up with some work related stuff. I'm really not trying to start any larger jobs until probably after IBS. I have a bunch of odds and ends to take care of, some little stuff, some cabinet jobs for customers. So I'm trying to lay low and take care of things on my end, personally, business related. Take care of some podcast things that I let slide the past 6 months, as well. So that's where I stand for 2024. That being said, um, I want to try and line up some more partnerships for the podcast, whether that is creating content for people, whether that is ad reads, whether that is trade show interviews. That's part of my goal for the beginning of this year as well. So if you are listening and you have a business that wants to partner, or you work for someone who wants to partner, reach out to me, Tyler, at trghomeconcepts.com, and we can discuss some potential opportunities there. But like I said, beginning of last year, I really want to focus more on this. I would like to be able to offset my income more with this so that I can work less, and I can still pick and choose the jobs I want, but not put myself in the position that I did the past 6 months, because this is just healthier for me, and I do enjoy this. And when I'm focused on this, it's very rewarding for me, and I hope that it helps all of you. So if you know any companies that would be a good partnership, if you work for a company, if you work for an ad agency, whatever, reach out to Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. I'd like to brainstorm some ideas for the Modern Craftsman podcast platform, an umbrella to be able to partner with you and make some things happen. So that's it for 2023. That's a wrap. We're heading into 2024. I appreciate all of you guys and girls following along with this. I appreciate all of the support. I love the questions. Keep shooting me emails with questions. If you want consulting calls, shoot me an email as well. I have some emails to get back to with that. Like I said, I'm booked up for the next 2 weeks. But after that, I can schedule some more calls. But I appreciate everything, all the support, all the questions, the feedback. Honestly, the feedback on this is much more rewarding to me than my business account, where you have, there's a lot more followers and there's people who can be pretty negative. So most of the people who respond to this or engage with this are very positive, very supportive, have a ton of great questions, have a ton of great feedback, advice. So I appreciate all of that. And please, please, please keep that coming. And I will be here every week with you guys and girls recording podcasts. So if you have questions or you have podcast topics, send them over my way. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Doug. Thank you, Andersen. Thank you, Kuiken Brothers. Thank you, Builder Trend. I'm looking forward to this year. All right, guys, I am signing off and getting out of here. I'm going to go grab breakfast with my wife for my birthday. I'll see you next week. Thank you.